It begins with a sound, an aroma, a ritual. You call it your morning coffee. I call it the most socially acceptable addiction in the world. Every sip you take is a signature on an invisible contract. A contract with terms and conditions you've never bothered to read. You think it gives you an edge, a boost, a leap into a higher state of focus. But what if this quantum leap is an illusion? What if you're just paying today's energy bill with tomorrow's life force? This isn't about shaming your lattes. This is about auditing the hidden costs in your life's balance sheet. So let's talk about coffee, and let's finally read the fine print on your quantum leap into reality. To understand your relationship with this dark beverage, we must first become neuroscientists. Your brain is a beautifully complex machine, constantly managing your energy levels. One of its key regulators is a molecule called adenosine, which builds up throughout the day, fitting into receptors in your brain and signaling that it's time to rest. Think of it as your brain's natural sleep pressure gauge. Now, enter caffeine. Structurally, caffeine is a master of disguise. It looks remarkably similar to adenosine. It enters your brain, and, like a cunning squatter, it parks itself in the adenosine receptors, blocking the real thing from getting in. Your brain's sleep pressure gauge is now jammed. The "I'm tired" signal never gets delivered, and you feel alert, awake, and artificially energized. This is not free energy. Let me be perfectly clear. This is not a SMA, quantum leap. It is a high-interest loan. You are borrowing wakefulness from your future self. The adenosine doesn't disappear. It's still there, building up, waiting. When the caffeine wears off, the floodgates open, and all that accumulated sleep pressure hits you at once. This is the infamous crash. Your body, being an incredibly adaptive system, responds to this constant blockade by building more adenosine receptors. It's an arms race inside your own head. This is the mechanism of tolerance. The single espresso that once made you feel like a genius now barely gets you to baseline. You need more and more caffeine just to feel normal, to evict the squatters from an ever-increasing number of receptor apartments. Now let's put on our investor's hat and talk about the numbers. Because the neural debt is just one part of the equation. People scoff at the Kenui latte factor, dismissing it as trivial. This is financially naive. Let's be brutally pragmatic. A $5 specialty coffee, 5 days a week. That's $25 a week, $100 a month, or $300 a year. $1,300. That's not a cup of coffee. That's a plane ticket, a significant payment on a credit card, or an emergency fund contribution. But the pragmatic investor doesn't just look at the raw number. They look at its opportunity cost. What could that money have become if you had paid yourself first, instead of your barista? If you had invested that $300 every year for 30 years, assuming a conservative 8% average annual return from a simple index fund, you would not have $39,000. You would have over $147,000. Let that sink in. Your morning ritual, your little treat, has a 6-figure price tag. Is your perceived quantum leap worth the price of a small house in some parts of the country? This calculation doesn't even account for inflation on coffee prices, impulse pastry purchases, or the time spent waiting in line, which is time that could have been spent on a side hustle, learning a skill, or simply resting. The true economic cost is always higher than what's on the receipt. Your balance sheet has a bleeding ulcer, and you're treating it with a $5 bandage that's actually causing the bleeding. But what about productivity? This is the core of the contract, the promise that justifies the cost. I need it to focus, you say. I can't work without it. Here, we must move from being an investor to being a psychologist. We must differentiate between activity and kinesia, achievement. Caffeine is exceptional at promoting the former, but often at the expense of the latter. For repetitive, low cognitive demand tasks, like data entry or assembly line work, caffeine can indeed improve performance and vigilance. It helps you power through the mundane. But for tasks requiring deep, creative thought, problem-solving, or nuanced thinking, the story is very different. The very stimulation that helps with rote tasks can become jittery, scattered energy that prevents the quiet, patient focus needed for a breakthrough. It creates an illusion of productivity. You answer emails faster, you switch between tabs more quickly, you talk faster in meetings, you feel incredibly busy. But this frantic busyness is often a mask for a lack of genuine progress on the things that truly matter. It's like flooring the gas pedal in neutral. The engine screams, but the car doesn't move forward. True quantum leaps in your work or finances don't come from frantic energy. They come from clarity, deep insight, and the ability to connect disparate ideas. This requires a calm, well-rested mind, not a mind artificially stimulated to skim the surface of 100 different things. Your coffee habit might be preventing you from accessing the very mental state you need to truly excel. This brings us to the darkest clause in the contract: the psychological cost. Caffeine doesn't just block adenosine. It stimulates your adrenal glands to produce adrenaline and cortisol. These are your fight-or-flight hormones. In small doses, for a genuine emergency, they are lifesavers. But bathing your system in them every single day is a recipe for chronic anxiety. You feel that jitteriness, that racing heart, that vague sense of unease and impending doom. You interpret it as stress from work or life. You may not even connect it to the cup you just drank. But you are, in effect, voluntarily putting your nervous system into a low-grade state of emergency, day after day. This is an immense tax on your mental and physical health. This creates a vicious, self-perpetuating loop. The caffeine you drink contributes to anxiety and degrades the quality of your sleep. Even if you fall asleep, its long half-life means it disrupts your deep sleep cycles, the restorative phase your brain needs to clear out metabolic waste, including adenosine. You wake up feeling unrested, foggy, and groggy. And what is the first thing you reach for when you feel that way? More coffee. The PA solution is the cause of the problem. You are trying to put out a fire with gasoline. This dependency isn't a sign of a high performer. It's a sign of a poorly managed system. You are stuck in a chemical cycle, perpetually tired, perpetually wired, and paying for the privilege. So, we return to our central question. Is coffee a quantum leap into reality? For the vast majority of daily users, the honest answer is no. It is a quantum leap into a chemically altered reality. It's not a tool for enhancement anymore, it's a tool for normalization. You are not drinking it to feel great, you are drinking it to stop feeling terrible. True reality, true baseline, is how you feel after 10 days with no caffeine in your system. It's a state of being many people haven't experienced since they were teenagers. The energy you have in that state is real, sustainable, and comes with no crash and no anxiety. The tiredness you feel without coffee isn't a withdrawal symptom. It's the truth. It's your body's honest signal that it needs rest, a signal you've been jamming for years. The purpose of this analysis is not to issue a blanket condemnation of coffee. It can be a useful tool when used strategically and infrequently, like for an overnight drive or before a critical exam. The problem is not the substance. It's the compulsive, unconscious ritual. It's the dependency masquerading as a preference. It's the unread contract. So what is the pragmatic path forward? It begins with an honest audit. For the next 30 days, track every dollar you spend on coffee. At the same time, keep a simple journal. Rate your energy, focus, and anxiety levels each day. You cannot manage what you do not measure. This is the first step to moving from a reactive consumer to a conscious architect of your own state of being. Consider a caffeine taper, or, if you're brave, a full detox for 2 weeks. Yes, the first few days will be unpleasant. You will likely have headaches and feel lethargic. This is the price of breaking the contract. It's your neural and financial accounts being reconciled. But on the other side of that, you will discover your true baseline. You will experience what real, unborrowed energy feels like. Once you have established that baseline, you can make a conscious choice. You can reintroduce coffee not as a daily necessity, but as an occasional tool. You will be shocked at how potent a single cup is when you have no tolerance. You regain its power by relinquishing your dependency on it. You become its master, not its servant. Your greatest assets are your time, your money, and your mental clarity. A habit that silently erodes all three is not a productivity tool. It is a liability. Stop blindly accepting the terms of this daily transaction. Read the fine print, run the numbers, and audit the true impact on your life. Your quantum leap doesn't come from a cup. It comes from consciousness.